Welcome back for another edition of Strengthening Oklahoma. This edition of Strengthening Oklahoma brought to you by The Garage. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood. Joining us here to recap a rough Saturday in the Cotton Bowl, we've got linebacker Danny Stutsman. Danny, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
Absolutely, man. Always a pleasure to hop on here and talk to you guys.
How you holding up, man? Obviously, what happened on Saturday was not easy. Was not fun for anyone, you guys included. We appreciate you joining. Just how you holding up, man? How's the mindset and just how's the overall morale of the team right now?
I mean, obviously it was a tough loss for sure, but some guys are down, but we've talked to the team and we decided, we have to respond. We can't really dwell on that game. Fortunately for us, the weeks keep rolling and it's no longer week 6, we're on week 7 and we got a good one. We got, Kansas, they're very ranked and we know what we got to do.
So, I mean, you look at, where you are now is not just a defense, but a collective football team, right? 3-3, and a lot of the goals you set before the season, realistically, probably out the window. Like how do you handle that? Right? How does the team handle that? Because man, this is not a situation that OU football finds itself in very often. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, none of us really expected to be 3-3, going into week 7, but it's kind of what we've done, and we can't really do anything about it now. Obviously, we have to readjust our goals and just keep striving to get better every single day, because this isn't OU football, and we have a standard to uphold, and we're gonna do everything in our power to do that.
And so my last year in 2005, we started 2-3, believe it or not, and we kind of had, I'm guessing similar to you guys, at kind of a come to Jesus moment. The seniors came together, the captains came together. We had some very real conversations, and we kind of said, we're not going to let this happen. And we went on to win 6 of our last 7 games. We actually beat a top 10 ranked Oregon team in a bowl game, but it was really on us as players. Are you taking that approach? Are your teammates taking a similar approach to that? And really you guys putting the onus on yourselves and trying to figure out and do whatever you guys can to get this thing fixed.
I mean, absolutely. A lot of the older guys have come together and, we've talked about what we need to change, what we need to do. I'm really just trying to keep the team together, because in moments like these, it's so easy to just like give up and just, already be on to the next year, but we still have another half season to do. And for those older seniors, we owe to them put so much into this where we have to keep fighting. You got to just keep taking hits and throwing hits, and we just got to keep swinging pretty much.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it, man. That's really all you can do at this point. So let's talk a little bit about the game. Clearly, I mean, you mentioned not the way y'all wanted it to go, not the way that anybody wanted it to go that is associated with the program in any way. When you went back and watched it, like what went so wrong defensively for y'all?
I mean, I think it was just little plays, we just got to play complete, like every single drive we got to do like our assignment every single play, because we do it 1 and 2 times, and on that third time we get caught, in those situations, they were able to just put drives together. That's really what got us. I think we just need to come together, and everyone has to know their assignment, and there has to be that complete trust so we can execute flawlessly.
It was a good start, quick 3 and out. You had a nice, stop there on that third down, got Roshan. You had the energy, you had the emotion. You got off to that good start, and then they kind of caught their stride pretty quickly after that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some, like the screen pass to Roshan, even that play they ran to Jatavian Sanders, where they had the motion come across, the motion got out in front, was kind of the lead blocker. Like there was some unique things that Sark was dialing up. Was it new stuff that you guys saw? Was it stuff that you had prepared for, maybe you just didn't execute? Like from a Texas game plan perspective, were you guys prepared for those things, or were some new wrinkles you hadn't seen yet?
I mean, I think we were prepared as well as we could be. I mean, a lot of us were taking a lot of extra time and studying film and, knowing when they get in a formation, what plays to expect and, what down and distance you're going to see those plays. I think from that aspect, I think a lot of our guys were prepared. But, there's just some situations it's hard to prepare for every single thing, especially when you don't know what's going on inside their room. So I think that's kind of where they got us. I think at that point, you got to stick to your technique. And then those little plays just come together and, really rips you out from the inside. But it's tough, but, just got to fix those mistakes and get it and move on.
I know that, at linebacker, you got to be involved with everything, right? When it comes to playing the run, deciphering all that stuff, dropping back in coverage and everything. What did you think of Quinn Ewers? Just from, my perspective, I thought he looked pretty good, man. He was efficient out there for Texas.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty difficult situation for a freshman quarterback, especially coming off injury. I think with all the circumstances, he played good, and he just played a hell of a game. But I think we just need to be better on the defensive side. We kind of gave him some freebies here and there, but regardless, it was a good performance by them.
What about Bijan Robinson? Obviously, your second time to go against him. He had a very good day once again. I think he's the best running back in college football, especially when he's humming. Just, your kind of thoughts of him as you took him on now a second straight year.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. He's one of the better backs in college football. He's a very good runner. But like I said, there were just so many little mistakes where he looked better than he was at times. But he's a very good player. I think everyone knows that. I think, it was kind of our little mistakes earlier with like we saw with Quinn, just in that aspect of it.
You look at the defense as a whole, man. How's, and Dusty asked you how you're holding up just with these 3 games in a row. Right? Like, just how's the confidence, right? How's the overall mood? Because I mean, you just, for whatever reason, you're just not getting the results you want out there, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I think what we know is, we put in the work, we're putting in the hours. So it's very difficult when, we're coming at practice, we're going hard, we're doing the extra stuff and studying film. We feel prepared, in that aspect, it's hard, but we know the only way to get the results we want is to keep doing the good things we've done. We can't just stop that now just because we've, games haven't gone our way. So I think now more than ever, we just got to work harder in that aspect, study more film, practice even harder, just so we can get something rolling.
For you in particular, because I know players don't always like to speak for their teammates, but for you started out this season so hot, man. I mean, you're making plays all over the field, and I still thought, you're making some plays in this game. But fair to say that you could play better, that maybe your game isn't where you want it to be. And as you look at it, what can you do other than looking at film? Like, what can you do to up your level of play starting this week against Kansas, just you in particular?
I definitely think there's a lot of ways where I can improve my game. I mean, if I thought I was gonna be the best player my second year of college, I would have been, lying to myself. I know as a player, I'm still developing. I still think there's some good moments, but it's just a sense of consistency. That's what I need to, get better at because, it's a long season and you got to sustain it. You can't just have spurts here and there. And that's what the greats are able to do. And so I think there's definitely still lots of improvement there. But, every single bit in practice, a lot of my technique can get better, my pad level, just a lot of stuff I feel like young players just need to learn and develop over time. And that's tough, and I think I'm trying every single day to get better at that and just, nothing else besides that. And just kind of just working on, the IQ aspect of the game.
So, one of the things, when it goes bad, right? Like, it's never as bad as it seems when you go back and watch it. Now, it was bad. Don't get me wrong, man. I went back and watched it. It was bad. But as you guys watched it as a defense, like, what are some of the positive takeaways just from the Texas experience? I know that maybe it's hard to find some, but like, did you see anything where you're like, okay, yeah, that's what it looks like,
I mean, yeah, it's obviously, a game like that, it's hard to find the positives, but I feel like the effort's there. Like the effort's been there where guys are running the ball, we're pursuing, it's more like that little execution, little technique things, where if guys are in perfect coverage and just dropping balls or, guys in, perfect situations, just bad penalties, stuff like that where, we can do it. And we've seen plenty of plays where we get a, 0-yard gain, they get 1 or 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage and we see the flashes of it. And so we know it's there. It's just getting to that high level and sustaining that high level.
Fans seem to stick around for, at least through the third quarter. I thought that was good to see. I mean, especially things kind of went south. I mean, just overall, how'd you feel about the turnout from the fans? It seemed like my wife and my kids were there. They said it was a great turnout. It seemed like a seemed like a really good atmosphere, really good crowd, as we usually expect for OU Texas.
Yeah, like you said, any OU Texas, I expect them, pretty much sold out crowd. It's an unbelievable environment, and the fans definitely showed out this year, and I think they stayed around as long as they could. But that's we deserved it for how we played. That's what kind of you expect, and so we just got to do better and get just so we can put on for Oklahoma.
So I know that, and Coach Venables has talked about, hey, you guys on the defensive side of thing, you can't be worrying about what the offense is doing, like how their drives are going, right? You gotta do your job no matter what the circumstances. But did you guys on defense feel any? I don't know if pressure is the right word, but like a heightened sense of urgency, right? Knowing what the offensive game plan kind of looked like for that football game.
I mean, not really. I mean, we had full faith in what offense is going to do, and we know, as if we don't compliment them, they can't really compliment us. If we expect them to score every drive, but we're letting the other team score every drive, then it's just not fair for both sides of the ball. So I think there's plenty of places where we both need to improve, so we can both complement each other and be able to play a full game.
Well, let's focus on a full game this week because Texas is come and gone, and I think we'd all agree you want to do whatever you can to prevent that from happening anymore. Okay, as you look at Kansas, and look, dude, they're playing great. I mean, they just got their first loss against TCU. Starting quarterback goes down, their backup come in. He's throwing dimes all over the place, and I mean that's a knockdown drag out to the final moments of the game, and TCU sneaks out of there with the win. This is a different Kansas football team than it was 5 years ago. You guys felt that last year already. I mean, they were starting to turn the corner last year, but as you start to turn the page to Kansas, it's a good team, but what have you seen from them so far if you've had a chance to look at them?
I mean, obviously they're very explosive. They have playmakers all over the place. I think we just gotta kind of prepare, do the same thing we always do, and just kind of, learn that defense, learn that offense best we will, and the offense learn the defense as good as they can. Put together a game plan where we know, the guys on both sides can operate and execute.
So looking at Kansas's offense, a lot of moving parts, man. I know it's early in the week. You probably just barely touched on them, but some of the stuff that Texas did, where there's a lot of movement in the backfield, a lot of things playing with your eyes, like Kansas has a lot of that going on, especially with some of their triple option elements they have with the QB run game. Like, how challenging is that stuff when like there's all that stuff moving in the back of a play? Like, how challenging is that for you at the linebacker spot?
I think, you kind of just get the preparation during the week of practice. The scouts have to give a good look where you can get the right read on the influence block by the tight end. And so in that sense, just we have to be ready to practice this week, really get down those keys and get those looks down so we're prepared on Saturday.
Yeah, this is kind of a spread option, if you will, kind of what they like to do. Again, knowing that you guys prepared from last year, but new staff in here, so maybe the preparation's a little bit different. But when you deal with a team like that, I mean, what's the most important thing as an overall defense when there are those different, options, whether it's a give read or quarterback's going to keep it or he has a pitch man? Like, what would you say just collectively, what's going to be the most important thing you guys are able to get done in preparation and then go out and execute there on Saturday?
Well, I think, it's all about gap integrity and just knowing what players have the running back, what players are quarterback players. And so that just comes with in every different call, knowing who it is and just everyone sticking their job and just doing their assignment. And then that way, you have everyone's holding a gap. There's no walls in the hole, holes in the wall pretty much.
So, and I'm not worried about this. I think fans are going to continue to support you guys. Right. The last 3 weeks have not gone well. We can all acknowledge that. But what message, if any message, do you want to get to the fan base? Right. Because, you guys need them to show up. Kansas is a good football team. And you need the fans to show up and make an impact on that game. So what message do you have for OU fans?
I mean, hey, we're still hearing those A gaps. We're going to do everything we can. And, we haven't given up and neither should they. I mean, we're going to do everything we can to prove we're still the standard, and we are.
Well, speaking of those fans, let's get to some of those fan questions. And the fan questions, as always, brought to you by Love's Travel Stop. Visit loves.com for more information on the nation's leading travel stop network that's headquartered right here in the great state of Oklahoma. Let's get to Kim Pearman. She says, what do you think happened between the first 3 games and the last 3 games in regards to defense? Tackles for loss, guys blowing coverage. Did the coaches make the defense harder, more complicated, or are the last 3 opponents just better? That from Kim Pearman, Danny.
I think just for us, I think just the little mistakes have been just stacking up, so we haven't really built any momentum, and it's just it's kind of just the separation. The season's long; those games get a little harder. I think just there's not really much to say there. I think we're still the same defense that we were, and we still are. We just gotta execute the way we need to.
Okay, this last one comes from Chad H. Danny, and this is a great question. Were you able to get any food from the state fair?
Unfortunately, I wasn't. I was looking forward to a funnel cake or something like that, but media ran a little long there, and I don't think it was the best time for that.
Yeah, I don't know if the funnel cake would have hit quite as well as it typically does. I would say
I ate my feelings away, Danny.
you had some for him.
Multiple corn dogs. I had a funnel cake, a bunch of beers. It was so I did it for you, man. I ate my feelings away after that one.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I think you ate for me as well. It sounds like so. You might have eaten for several of us here at Strengthening.
It was
Oklahoma.
bad. It was a bloodbath.
We appreciate that. Hey, that's a great teammate right there, right? If others can't do it, then look at you picking up the slack. Danny, man, good luck this week. Obviously, I don't have to tell you how important just getting a win is, right? And obviously from that Nebraska game, felt like the highest of highs, I'm sure, for you guys, for the fan base, for all of us. Like, man, this is going to be amazing to now 49-0 on the Cotton Bowl field. But it's amazing what a win does, and it's amazing what playing good does. So best of luck in your preparation this week, man. We're all still going to support you guys, and hopefully we get a chance to see you guys go out there and play at a much higher level this week. We'll talk to you again soon, man.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, there you go. Danny Stutsman, we always appreciate him for joining us. And now it's time for me and my man Gabe to break it down. Time for the breakdown. And the breakdown brought to you by the Oklahoma Proton Center. It's one of the top cancer centers in the region using state-of-the-art proton therapy. Oklahoma Proton Center, more than a cure, quality of life. It feels like a funeral that I'm at right now. I hate that. I want to have energy. I want to be positive. I want to have some fun, but it just doesn't feel like it's the right time or place. I got to be honest. It's funny. I can spin it somewhat funny. You're talking about eating. So I'm in Miami getting ready for my game, which, by the way, the one good thing for me is that like I had my game after this and I had an unbelievable game. Came down to like the final play. So that was kind of cool. So like at least I could take my mind off of that.
And at least you could feel some joy in your life.
Yes. It was joyous to get up there and get to call a very competitive game. But I was up in the press box and we got there like 3 hours before our game started. So I'm watching a lot of this game. And I didn't think I was a stress eater, but I must have been a stress eater because I usually don't eat on game days much at all before I go on camera. And I was sitting in there and I went back like 3 times for plates of food while I was watching whatever that was at the Cotton Bowl. So I can at least say I had a full stomach as I watched. I don't even know how to describe it anymore, man. Like I'm at a loss for words. I was so confident about this team, about this staff coming into the year. And I haven't lost my confidence, big picture, but it's just been perplexing to watch just how far they've gone in the wrong direction. And I don't know any other way to put it. And I'm not trying to be overly critical. I'm just being real. And the fact that they haven't been able to pinpoint it or fix it defensively. Offensively, we can get into that. And holy cow, is there a gap between QB1 and clearly the rest of the quarterbacks? Wow. I knew Oklahoma would potentially be in a bad situation if Dylan Gabriel went down. I had no idea it would be in this kind of a situation. You know, backup quarterback for Kansas. Now, he's a former starter. I got to put it all out there. But he went out and tossed 4 touchdowns. The Texas Tech's on their third string quarterback. He darn near went and won Stillwater. I mean, I can go down the list. But I mean, we know from the transfer portal, everything that's happened to this collection of quarterbacks, whether it's Tanner Mordecai, you know, whether it's Chandler Morris, whether it's Spencer Rattler, obviously Caleb Williams, you knew that the cupboard was bare. Man, that I don't even know where to start. The defense was bad. The offense was worse. It was one of the worst performances in the history of the greatest rivalry in college football. It's the worst loss in Oklahoma history. Like, you go, because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
It was not a fun day. It was not a fun day. And I think this is the best way to say it. A couple things here. Texas was a much better football team.
Way better.
Yeah. Bigger, faster, stronger, more depth. I mean, seeing it at field level, it was and there's been times where, you know, Texas looks better than OU, but I feel like OU has controlled this rivalry for the last couple decades because of the toughness, right? The grit, the edge. And Texas had that too in this game. And that was the most discouraging part for me. It was like they were more talented and more physical. And not to say that OU's guys didn't want it, but man, it looked like Texas's guys wanted it more. I mean, that's just how it looked, right? Like I'm not the only one seeing that.
Scheme. So I thought Sark was a wizard out there.
Yeah.
Golly.
There was a lot of moving parts for that Texas offense, but bottom line, like Oklahoma's defensive line has disappeared.
Yeah.
No disruption. Quinn Ewers could have sat back there all day. I mean, he was under pressure once, maybe.
Very little.
And he took off and ran and like got a first down, and it was demoralizing.
Yeah. On a third down.
Yeah.
Big third down, just, you know, pass rush gets to, opens, creates a big seam. Nobody there on the second level. Yeah.
I mean, you know defense better than I do, but defense starts with great defensive line play.
Yeah.
And they're getting very little production, very little disruption from that defensive front in that 3-man look. Actually, they kicked it to a 4-man look and even front a little bit defensively, and I actually thought it looked pretty good at times.
I look. It's not my defense. No one asked for my input. I would like to see more of a 4-man look. I don't think we have the body types for the odd look. I get the cyclone. I get it, and I know that a lot of people, it's in vogue. I like it as a changeup. I just don't know if the body types are what you need, if that's what you're going to major in. And again,
see, that's the interesting question now. And this is, and it's very weird to say out loud because Oklahoma football has not been in this situation a long time, but right. All of the normal OU football goals, they're out the window, right? You're not going to win the Big 12. They're like, so now
trying to get, I mean, I'm being dead serious. Right now, getting to a bowl game is the new goal.
Yeah.
And can they surpass that? Yes. If they got it together, could they get hot and win a lot of these games? Yes. But right now, where this thing is at and the fact that it keeps going the wrong way, right now it's about stabilizing and getting a darn win, playing better football. Like, to heck with all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it literally has to go back to the basics of anything in life, just finding a way to get better because they've just gotten worse the last 3 weeks. They've gotten worse each week on both sides of the football.
Which, like, when you think about this staff and like how much they are emphasizing development and all this stuff, like, I just don't know where it's gone wrong.
Yeah,
like, we're not there every day. We're not out at practice. Like, we're not in the lifts and the meetings. Like, I don't know how you get this much worse as a collective football team in 3 weeks. Like, and I know that them losing confidence is a big part of it, probably, right? Like,
no doubt.
This team they are down, man. They are down, but I still don't even think that explains what we saw on Saturday. Dude, what we saw on Saturday was, I mean, if they lose to Kansas at home, that will be rock bottom, right? That'll be rock bottom.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I don't know. I mean,
but it felt.
I'm sorry. I just want to jump in. This needs to be rock bottom.
I'm with
49,
you.
49-0.
And it could have been worse.
49-0 to a team. Tech's a good football team. Quinn Ewers is a really good quarterback. Bijan Robinson, I think, he's the best. Like, they got a lot of pieces. 49-0, it should not happen, right? Like, this needs to be rock bottom. I'm just gonna say that it is. But go ahead. You were saying that if they lose to Kansas, that's rock bottom. I'm saying this is rock bottom.
I'm with you, but like, that's the reality of it. You look at the schedule moving forward, it doesn't get easier. Like, there's good football teams.
Oh, yeah.
Like Kansas is a good football team.
Every game is losable. Every game, you could say every game is winnable. Every game is losable on the schedule. That's the truth.
And just defensively, like, how do they get back on track? This is now 2 performances that have been really, really poor. Kansas State was really bad, but these last 2, TCU and Texas, I think the best term for it, it's like, it's been non-competitive.
Yep.
Which I just don't know how it's gotten to this point. And I wonder, and you've got experienced veteran guys that, like, you want to finish out their senior season, like, all that stuff, but it's almost, for me, and I'm not saying like you give up on this season, like, you can still get to a bowl game and that stuff matters, but Dusty, at what point do you start looking towards 2023? You start getting some younger guys out there. You like, I mean, because now getting better in like the development is, I mean, that's a fine balance, right? I don't know how you balance it all, but man, that's kind of where my brain went as I was watching just that second half unfold. It's like, how can we get some of these young guys some reps to where they kind of know what it feels like heading into next year? It's crazy that I'm already thinking about next year. They got 6 games left, man.
This is my thought. And I was on the 05 team as my senior year. I was a captain. We started 2-3. It's the year Texas won the national championship. That was a really good Texas team. They beat us convincingly. It wasn't that convincingly, but they beat us convincingly. They're a better team than us. We had lost a lot of guys. We were working in a new freshman quarterback, like, and we again, man, we came together, and by the end of the year, we were a pretty good football team. To me, this is not where you go development stage. To me, this is where you continue to play the players that give you the best chance to win. That's where I'm at. I think that for the veterans on this team, they deserve that. Maybe there comes a point, if it's game 10, game 9, maybe at some point you get there. I don't think you're there. Like, to me, you're still, and maybe young guys maybe give you a better chance to win. I don't know. I'm not there. I don't evaluate practice. Coaches see these players every day. They're going to put the best players out there that give them the best chance to win. And that's where my mindset is. To answer your question, I'm not going development mode yet. I'm just not. I want to win as many games as I can. I want to try to turn this thing around and have positive momentum. You got to also think about recruiting classes, dude.
Yeah.
Like it needs to turn. And so I'm not going development yet. I'm going, we're putting our best players on the field that give us the best chance to win. And those guys have got to execute and they've got to play better. Coaches have to do a better job of putting them in position to succeed. Like it's everybody. It ain't just the players. It is on the coaches. It is on finding a way. Like 39 yards passing. I love Jeff Levy. I love Jeff. I think Jeff's a great football coach. That can't happen at the University of Oklahoma. What we saw or lack thereof out of the passing game, that was alarming. Like things like that can't happen. You know what else it told me? This is the truth. You want the truth? Here's the truth. I'm a defensive guy. But one thing that the last 6.5, 7 quarters have told me, good Oklahoma has had exemplary elite quarterback play for a while. Dylan hasn't played at that level, but he's played good. Okay. But one thing that I'm realizing is that great elite quarterback play has masked a lot of things at the University of Oklahoma for a while now. Last year, Texas scored 28 in the first quarter. Like these problems have been here. But when you got a guy that can just go out and win you games, when there's one guy that's that good and he makes others around him that much better, it masks a lot of stuff. When you've got Baker Mayfields and you've got Kyler Murray's and Jalen Hurts's and Caleb Williams, like it masks a lot of what's going on. And then when you don't have that, all of a sudden, whoa. And then when you go from good and Dylan, he's been good, to what we've seen the last 6 quarters, you're kind of like, oh my goodness. And so quarterback play, I always knew it, how important quarterback play was. Like to me, that's what's really stood out. And so first and foremost, if they get Dylan Gabriel back on the field, that's going to help a lot of things. It's not going to fix everything, but like I just thought about even the TCU game, I think that's a much more competitive game with Dylan there, even though he was missing early. I believe that against Texas, I don't think Oklahoma would have beat Texas with Dylan Gabriel. I'm not here to say that. I won't take anything away, but it wouldn't have looked like that. Like if you score a touchdown here or there, like after the fake field goal, you know, if you're able to score a touchdown, get points on the board, like who knows what happens? Again, Texas is a better football team. I don't think Dylan Gabriel was going to change the result of that game. But what it looked like, what it felt like, I think he would. So I think first and foremost with Kansas this week, or whenever they can get Dylan Gabriel back, that's a good thing. Now, I'd also say, now that you know what's behind door number 2 or lack thereof, I'd be a little bit more careful running him. Like now all of a sudden, like keep that guy as upright and free from contact and injury as humanly possible. Like they need to preserve, when they get Dylan Gabriel back, his health as best they possibly can. So that's off the top. Then I would say just defensively, you said defensive line, but I mean, it's everybody, right? I mean, it's bad angles from safeties. It's, you know, I thought that there were certain players they were going at, like, because they just on film, they've shown they're susceptible to getting beat. If they get put in one-on-one situations to tackle, they're not going to be able to tackle. So, you know, like we can talk D-line, and it does start with the defensive line, and they can help everybody in the back end. That has to get better, but it's the entire unit, right? It's the entire group. All 3 levels are going to have to find a way to play better. And if that is working in different guys just to give them a chance and see how they respond, then maybe that, but to me, that's not punting on this year, working towards next year. It's trying to find solutions to get this thing righted right now, because status quo just isn't necessarily, I don't know if that's just going to be able to fix everything that's going on. So I know that's a lot there, but like, I do think, I hate to oversimplify it, I do think getting Dylan Gabriel back, it's not going to fix everything, but it's going to help. It's going to help a lot.
It will prevent a tight end being the guy that catches the most snaps for you in a football game at the quarterback position. And I want to make one thing very clear. And it's not just because he's one of our guys here at Strengthening Oklahoma. Braden Willis played
It's a warrior.
his heart out.
It's a warrior.
The guy was flying around and was everything they asked him to do. For him to be able to not only just absorb it all mentally and execute it, but to execute it with the effort level he did, it was commendable. But man,
that's not the recipe for wins.
That offense, what we saw in the most alarming thing is you and I both agree. Jeff Lebby is a hell of an offensive coordinator.
He's excellent.
And dude, let me tell you, they dialed some stuff up out of that Wildcat now, where I was like, dang, that's good. Like, that's creative. Like, but
when you're that one-dimensional, Gabe, there's, well, it's so tough.
Completely agree. But the fact that offensive staff assessed their situation and went, this gives us the best chance to win.
Yeah.
That's very alarming.
I totally agree.
And like, I do not think Jeff Lebby or anyone on that offensive staff didn't want to win that football game.
No doubt.
Like, they did what they thought would give them the best chance to win. And, for times it moved the ball pretty well, got away from some of that stuff when maybe they shouldn't have in some certain areas of the field. But ultimately, like, if you can't throw the ball, you're not going to beat a team like Texas. Like, you're just not. Like, you're not.
You're playing with one arm tied behind your back, literally. Like, that's what you're doing. That's what was happening.
Pretty much everything about that game, except for the weather. The weather was awesome. You would have loved it. Like, the weather was great.
Better than Miami. I was sweating my, what off. Holy cow.
Everything other than the weather was miserable. I did not have fun, Dusty. And I ate approximately 5,000 calories of fair food afterwards to try to make me feel better, and it didn't. I mean, it helped a little bit. But
did you have any beers out of the wax cups? Please tell me you did.
I chugged 3 of them the second I found my wife. I was like, I need beer, and I need it now. And we had a ride, so I was like, I'm going to house these. I just needed to feel something, Dvoracek, because I was numb. I was like, I didn't even know how to react to that game. And some of these guys,
do we still know how to react to it? Because I still don't even know if I've fully figured out how to react to that. And again, it's just the Nebraska game and where the way this team looked and the way that they played. And I know Nebraska is not a great football team, but they're not a bunch of bums. Okay. Nebraska was losing games. They're losing games close. OU went up there and ran them out of the stadium. And I guess that's the silver lining, to flip it and end on a high note. I'll try.
I look forward to this.
Is that as bad as it's gotten in 3 weeks? Maybe it can go the other direction. You've shown it to me. I've seen it. I know it's there somewhere. Why is it eviscerated as of late? Why does it seem like it's only getting worse? Well, I don't know. I don't have those answers. I wish I did. Everybody's asking me, and I'm sure same as you. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I believe in these coaches. I think there's good personnel on this roster, better personnel than what it's playing. Why is it going the wrong direction? I don't know. But I know if it can go the wrong way, it at least has the opportunity to go back the right way. And I just hope it's this week, man, because Oklahoma's got an amazing fan base. You guys are amazing. We appreciate you. But I also know how fans of all teams are at a certain point. And I think they're going to show up for this 11 o'clock game against Kansas on Saturday. But if they see more of the same, and you get into the third quarter and it's non-competitive again, there's going to be people hitting the exits and there's going to be boos coming out. And that's just the nature of this.
And I'll say this. That's fair.
I'm not even going to get mad at it.
That's fair. Like, the players would be the first ones to tell you. And Brent Venables has said it, like, what we've seen the last 3 weeks, like, it's just for the standard that this program has, like, for the standard. And you and I, we love this place, man. Like, yeah. It's been unacceptable the last 3 weeks. Like, TCU and Texas were non-competitive.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that those teams, like, those are two good football teams. There's no doubt. But it shouldn't have played out the way that it did. Like, it shouldn't be that extreme. So I don't know how it's going to get fixed, but I hope, with every ounce of my being, I hope they figure it out, and I hope they can turn it around.
I got one more silver lining. I got another one. Vegas thinks they're going to figure it out. Did you see the line that opened up?
Was 7.5?
I saw it at 9.5. Oklahoma, 9.5-point favorite. What are they seeing that I haven't?
Dylan Gabriel's going to come back and ball, man.
I think that's very possible. Like, I do, and I'm just telling you right now, I think this team will perform different with him back in the lineup. Lord knows it can't get worse.
This is going to make you feel worse.
What?
It's down to 6.5 now.
That thing opened up and people were like, what? I saw that and I was like, what? Well, even still, Vegas has Oklahoma's around it. Now at this point, the betting public has moved that line and pushed it to Oklahoma around a touchdown favorite. So there's at least someone out there that truly believes that Oklahoma is going to get the ship righted and get this thing figured out. We'll have more episodes throughout the week to try to figure out.
I do want to say, now that we're putting this on the podcast platforms and on YouTube and stuff, like, I do appreciate these last couple weeks, that our guys, like, they're still being very professional, and
yes.
they are fulfilling their contractual obligations. Like, it's not easy. Like, no one wants to get it right more than they do. And
that's right.
The fact that they're still coming on here and talking about this stuff openly with us, when it's just got to be terrible. I got a lot of respect for him for doing that.
Same. Well said. Well said. And you know what? There's a lot of fans out there, that are still supporting these guys, going to continue to support the staff, this program. That's appreciated as well. Hopefully we start to see a better product on the field starting this week against Kansas. That's all for the funeral version of the Texas debacle.
When we made this public, we all were like,
Texas
we played it for OU Texas week, the lead up. We were going to have, oh, man.
You have a plan sometimes, and then sometimes just wad it up and just throw it out the window. That's kind of what's taking place here as of late. But you know what? On to the next, baby. On to the next. And it's time for Oklahoma to get things going in the right direction. What better way to do it than against the Kansas Jayhawks, who, by the way, are looking to become bowl eligible in just the 7th game of the season. We'll talk about Kansas after the week. Kansas is a good football team. Oklahoma's going to have to play well, not just show up and play well to win this football game. It is by no means a gimme. It is by no means an easy task. Lance Leipold's got that team believing and playing at a very, very high level. We'll break down how Oklahoma can go about their business to get a win against those Jayhawks throughout the course of the week right here on Strengthening Oklahoma. Thanks to Muse Growth Strategies for continuing to help us spread the word about strengthening Oklahoma. Reminder to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. Big thanks to our subscribers, the people that have been checking out on YouTube or wherever you listen to this great podcast on. We appreciate you. Thank you very much for supporting Strengthening Oklahoma, and we'll see you again next time right here on Strengthening Oklahoma.